Welcome to the Pinellas County Urban League. Congratulations! You are now a participant in the Senior Community Service Employment Program, SCSEP, also known as the Urban Seniors Jobs Program, USJP. SCSEP is the only national work, training, and employment program exclusively for persons 55 and older. This handbook is designed to provide you with an introduction to the Pinellas County Urban League. It contains an overview of the program, your responsibilities and benefits, a description of the policies and procedures of USJP, and much information that you need to participate and be successful in USJP. Use this handbook to answer questions. Almost all the questions you have about how to participate in the program are answered in this handbook. The National Urban League and the Pinellas County Urban League are committed to working with you to achieve your work-related goals. We wish you the best of success. Success! Go get it! Let's talk about the Pinellas County Urban League. The mission of Pinellas County Urban League is, as an active partner, leader, and catalyst, we will assist African Americans, other minority groups, and the disadvantaged attain social and economic equality and stability through direct services and advocacy. The Pinellas County Urban League has served individuals and families for over 91 years through 3 direct service programs: workforce development, housing and financial empowerment, and youth development and education. The Urban League employs a 5-point strategy tailored to the needs of our service constituency in the following counties: Hernando, Pasco, Sumter, Lake, Seminole, and Marion, in order to implement the mission of our movement. You will find yourself somewhere among these items of the 5-point strategy. First is education and youth empowerment. This ensures that all of our children are well educated and prepared for economic self-reliance in the 21st century. The second item in the 5-point strategy is probably the one most of us participating in this program are most interested: economic empowerment. This empowers all people in attaining economic self-sufficiency through job training, good jobs, home ownership, entrepreneurship, and wealth accumulation. The third strategy is health and quality of life empowerment. We need to work to build healthy and safe communities. We want to eliminate health disparities through prevention, healthy eating, fitness, as well as ensuring access to affordable health care for all people. People in general are happier when they feel a sense of control in their lives. We get that in the fourth strategy, civic engagement and leadership empowerment. When we empower all people to take an active role in determining the direction, quality of life, public policy, and leadership in their communities, and by full participation as citizens and voters, as well as through active community service and leadership development, we have a people who are interested and engaged in their communities. All by itself, the fifth strategy is a tall order. Civil rights and racial justice empowerment are big issues in our society today, made bigger by some of the injustices that are perpetrated against small portions of the population for things they can't control or change. Civil rights and racial justice empowerment helps us to promote and ensure our civil rights by actively working to eradicate all barriers to equal participation in all aspects of American society, whether political, economic, social, educational, or cultural. Through county, state, and/or federal grant funds, the Pinellas County Urban League is able to continue to fulfill its mission of economic empowerment. Our vision is to empower mature individuals to become more economically self-sufficient through job training, job search assistance, and mentoring. Good programs have good goals. Let's talk a little bit about the goals of USJP. There are program goals, what we hope to achieve as a program for you, the participant. The overall goal of USJP is to help you develop marketable skills that improve your ability to find employment, to provide added income during your work training experience, to help local community agencies continue to provide needed services, to help you find unsubsidized employment, and to help you get involved in your community. Those are the goals. How do we do it? These goals are achieved by providing you with a combination of useful part-time work training assignments in agencies that serve the community, along with traditional training. You will find that with improved skills and experience, you will obtain better employment. The Pinellas County Urban League is excited about your participation and can offer suggestions, support, and services such as resume writing, job interviewing techniques, career exploration, and other workshops to help you meet your employment goals. The USJP has its goals, and you as a participant have your goals. The USJP attempts to match their goals to your goals to help meet your need for a full or part-time job. Your goals when you enter this program should include upgrading your skills and your work experience by participating in training provided through community and/or public agencies. You can seek improved employment opportunities beyond the USJP. You can pursue additional skills improvement through programs and developing a comprehensive plan to do so. This plan is called your Individual Employment Plan. It is created in partnership with you. It's all designed to fit things together so you can find unsubsidized, full or part-time employment that meets your needs and your goals. There are rules of conduct in every society and in every group within the society. The USJP has its rules of conduct. As a participant, you are expected to follow standards of good conduct and make every effort to meet the goals of the program, to include participation in discussing your skills and interests, follow your individual employment plan, your IEP. This is referred to as the employment plan. Register with your local one-stop career center. Cooperate with the project director and counselor in helping you find an unsubsidized job, and make every effort to accept a job. Be on time for your assigned training hours and fulfill them. Notify your host agency supervisor when you will be late or when you will not be in due to an illness. This is a courtesy so that your agency can plan for your absence. Notify the project director and your supervisor in advance when you're requesting a leave of absence from the USJP. Perform your training assignments in a timely, accurate, and effective manner. Wear appropriate clothing and maintain good personal grooming on the training assignment. Always be neat and clean. Cooperate, be polite, be respectful with your host agency supervisor and other staff, as well as other USJP participants assigned at your host agency. Here's a little bit of a game. Which picture fits with which rule of conduct? Your cues? On the left is the picture of a person checking a thermometer. This is about letting your supervisor know, letting your host agency know when you can't come in because of an illness. The middle picture is about respect. The colors on the woman's hand are about LGBTQ issues. Everyone is different. There are 2 different skin colors here, and what we see is a difference of many different things in one small picture. We have to respect the differences wherever we are. The third picture is a woman checking her watch. Clearly, she's at home getting ready to go to work. Be on time. It's respectful of everyone to do so. Ask questions of your supervisor or project director when feeling unsure of what is expected of you. If you proceed when you're not sure what to do, you could be making a big mistake. You could be causing difficulty for others around you. There's an old proverb that says, if you don't have time to do it right the first time, when will you have time to do it right the second time? Doing it right requires knowing what you're supposed to be doing. So ask questions. We're trainees. We're expected to have questions. So ask them. Life brings change. Annual recertification of eligibility is required. Every year you will be recertified to determine your eligibility to remain in the program. If you're found ineligible due to falsification of eligibility documentation submitted, participants will be immediately removed from the host agency and given a 30-day written notice of termination with the reason you were found ineligible for further participation in the program. In addition, it is your responsibility to let the USJP project director know of any changes in your income or family size, since that may affect your eligibility for the program. The program staff will refer you to the One-Stop Center and other training services for assistance. Multiple things happen during the period of assessment and orientation. Once eligibility has been verified and desire to achieve the program goals has been established, participants receive an initial assessment which provides the foundation for the individual employment plan, the IEP, or the step-by-step roadmap of training and related activities to determine the next steps, appropriate training assignment, and ultimately your unsubsidized employment. The IEP is completed at intake or within 3 months of your enrollment. During orientation, participants complete an intake packet, including a review of the participant handbook and an explanation of program policies and important forms. An opportunity is provided for you to ask questions during this process to ensure that participants have a full understanding of goals and expectations of the program before being assigned to an agency. One of the major parts of the program is your individual employment plan. You are now a participant in USJP. You have received an interview and have been determined eligible for the program, and your job interests, current skills, past work, and volunteer experience have been discussed. Your IEP is the most important document that you will create in this program, and it is paramount for your successful participation in USJP. You will meet with a USJP program counselor to design your individual employment plan, your IEP. Together, you will establish your goals for training and preparing for unsubsidized employment and addressing any barriers that may be a challenge to your training and placement in a job. The employment plan is your roadmap for moving successfully toward unsubsidized employment. Your program counselor will visit your host agency to talk with you and your supervisor on your progress. The IEP is an agreement similar to a contract. You are agreeing to participate in training and other activities and set goals. Your goals may stretch your current abilities, but will be necessary if you are to be successful in this program. The IEP may identify the need for vocational, GED, or computer training, which requires attendance in a classroom environment. Other skills training may require self-guided efforts. The number of learning opportunities available through the program varies by participant and is only limited by resources. Refusal to follow through with steps outlined and agreed upon in the IEP is cause for corrective action. You will be given a warning letter and a chance to return to compliance with the IEP. However, continued failure to cooperate in this process will result in your termination from the program. Where will you be working? As a new participant in USJP, you will be given a community service training assignment at a nonprofit or public agency. This agency is referred to as the host agency. A critical goal of the community service assignment is to provide the skills that have been identified as needed for you to be marketable in the type of employment in which you are most likely to succeed. The community service assignment, also known as host agency training assignment, description provides a written list of tasks to be trained on, hours at the host agency, agency name, and supervisor. You and the host agency have responsibility to follow the assignment description. Any changes in the assignment, including hours and duties, must be approved by the USJP project director in writing. Training assignments are driven by your employment goal, barriers to be removed, and/or job skills needed to reach your employment goal as indicated on the Individual Employment Plan, the IEP. The USJP strives to select host training agencies that will provide you with meaningful training opportunities. Once orientation has been completed, you will be sent for an interview at an appropriate host agency. Both you and the host agency supervisor will be looking to make a match based on what you initially identified as your area of interest and what the agencies indicated as their area of training. We will want the work training assignment to provide the skills that we have identified as needed for you to be marketable in the type of employment in which you are most likely to succeed. You and the supervisor will be determining your suitability and/or fit for that particular agency work training assignment. Your training assignment description is what determines how you will spend your days while you're working with USJP on this project. So let's get to it. Your training assignment description provides information on your responsibilities, your training hours, the host agency location, and supervision. The training description is a part of your record. You and the host agency have the responsibility to follow the assignment description. Your training assignment description, like your IEP, may only be updated with the approval of the USJP staff to meet your IEP and program goals. Let's talk about rotation. Training assignments at one host agency may not give you all the skills and training you really need to update your employment skills, so we rotate. Training assignments with different host agencies will give you additional chances to improve your skills and move into an unsubsidized job sooner. The amount of time you spend in a community service assignment will be shaped by your individual employment plan. You will be required to change host agencies from time to time when it is determined to be in your best interest. The host training assignment is the heart of USJP. By training at a community-based organization, government agency, or nonprofit agency, you are building the skills and behaviors you need to be successful in obtaining a job and keeping it. You will learn the skills required for the training site position and receive performance feedback from your training site supervisor. Receiving training in a realistic job environment provides learning and feedback that will help you be successful in the long term. USJP will place you into the training opportunities based on the skills training and educational services that match your IEP. Like all internships, apprenticeships, and other training programs, USJP's training program has limits and has rules for how the hours worked will be arranged. Training assignments with USJP typically average 15 to 20 hours per week and are usually 3 to 4 hours per day, 4 to 5 days per week, depending on the number of hours trained per day. Days and hours can be flexible and may be adjusted within limits to suit the participant and the host agency. If hours are changed, a written notification will be distributed to you. Host agencies cannot ask participants to work or train additional hours or on weekends. You are required to inform the host agency supervisor when you will not be reporting to the community service training assignment as scheduled. When you've been working a while, you'll need a break. Whenever a participant's work training assignment is in excess of 6 hours in any one day, the participant must take a minimum of a half-hour break for lunch, which must be shown on the timesheet. When a 30-minute break is taken, the time left and the time returned to the assignment must be listed on the timesheet. Each participant may choose to take a 15-minute break per 4 to 6 hour day. After 2 or 3 hours working at your host agency, you will be tired and you'll need a break. Looking at the first column on this table, hours on assignment that are 4 to 6 hours in any one day allows you a paid 15-minute break. You can take that break without signing in or out on the timesheet. Looking again at the hours on assignment, when any day is assigned 6 hours or more, you're required to take a 30-minute minimum lunch break. For this break, you must sign in and out on the timesheet. Sometimes our bodies tell us better than the clock when we need a break. Sometimes you just need a break. A break can also be considered lost time due to sick leave, personal time, and closing due to weather. Breaks can be made up provided it is within the same pay period and if it has been approved in advance by the host agency supervisor and your USJP director.
Funerals. You may be excused to attend funerals. You must notify your training site supervisor and the Urban Seniors Jobs Program office staff as soon as possible before leaving or missing any training. As with other types of absences, You can make up the missed hours within the same pay period.
Let's talk about holidays and holiday pay. As a participant, you will be paid only for your actual hours of training. If you are not scheduled to work on a holiday and your host agency is open, you will not be paid for the holiday because you were not training. If the host agency is closed on any holiday that you're normally scheduled to train, you may make up those hours within the same pay period. Be sure to discuss this with your host agency supervisor and Urban League staff in advance and before the holiday. If your host agency is closed on additional days, for example, the day after Thanksgiving, you shall have the opportunity to make up those hours. These hours should be coordinated with your host agency supervisor. One additional note about holidays. Your training hours should be rescheduled within the same pay period or no later than the following pay period in which time was missed if there are absolutely no other options. In the event your host agency can't accommodate your requirement for rescheduled holiday hours, you are to notify your Urban League director immediately to arrange for approved activities that are consistent with your IEP, and these activities are to be added to your IEP. If your host agency is open on a holiday and you are normally scheduled to train on that day, you are expected to fulfill your scheduled hours. If you will not be able to train on those hours as scheduled, be sure you discuss this with your host agency supervisor and the Urban League director before the holiday arrives. You may elect not to reschedule your hours. If you choose this option, you will not be compensated for those hours not rescheduled. We've used the term participant meetings before. Now let's talk about them. Attendance at USJP quarterly meetings is mandatory for all participants, and it's calculated into the weekly training hours. Participant meetings provide opportunities for you to get information and engage in skills training. You will receive your hourly wage for the time spent in USJP meetings, and you will be compensated at your regular wage. The USJP staff will notify your host agencies of the participant meeting schedule. Host agencies are expected to allow participants to attend program meetings and workshops, so you will not find it inconvenient or impossible to attend. If you are unable to attend, speak with the project director or your assigned counselor prior to the meeting. These meetings are required. If absent, you will not be paid for the hours of the meeting. Attendance is a very basic requirement in any program of training, whether at school, work sites, on-the-job training, internships, any kind of program. Regular attendance is essential to the operation of your training site. Early notification of your inability to attend or arrive at your scheduled time allows managers and supervisors to plan staff and fill-in work. You are responsible for notifying both your site supervisor and the USJP office within a minimum of 30 minutes of the scheduled reporting time. Good attendance is an important factor of the IEP and performance reviews. It is also required to get and retain unsubsidized employment. Good attendance is necessary to receive a reference when seeking unsubsidized employment. So it's a very basic rule. You can state it in 2 words. Be there. Both USJP and its host agencies take attendance very seriously. Any participant who is absent from the training assignment for 3 consecutive days without proper notification and authorization shall be considered to have resigned from the assignment. This participant may be exited from the USJP program. Consistent tardiness or absences can result in termination from the USJP program.
Wow. Now that's a lot of information. So how about we pause right here and take a quick 15-minute break. Go ahead, grab a little bite to eat, stretch your legs, relax your mind, or even take care of any business that you need to take care of really quickly. Please don't sign out of the meeting. Don't close your browser or hang up the phone because once this alarm sounds, the USJP orientation will resume and we don't want you to miss a thing. So go ahead and take your break and we'll see you guys back here in a minute. Thanks. Welcome back, guys. Let's go ahead and pick things up right where we left off.
The ultimate goal of both USJP and its participants is unsubsidized jobs, or employment. The purpose of USJP is to help you prepare for employment through community service training. Therefore, you will be expected to prepare and look for unsubsidized employment and cooperate with the program staff's efforts to assist you. If a suitable job is offered to you, you are expected to accept the offer. You are required to register with the One Stop Center and enroll in various workshops and vocational skills training classes that will improve your employability skills. The USJP program staff will encourage you and assist your efforts in searching and applying for jobs. Think about applying for a position that you qualify for while at the host agency. If you refuse to meet the training or employment goals in your IEP, you may be terminated from the program. USJP doesn't just help you find a job. They follow along with you after you've gotten the job to make sure it's a good placement and to make sure you're reaching your goals. Helping you retain the job that you've worked so hard to get is an integral part of the USJP. The project director or counselor or his or her assistant will contact you periodically for up to 15 months after placement in unsubsidized employment to see how you're doing in your job. In addition, the project director will be asking for information on your earnings during this time. Please remember to keep your pay stubs through this follow-up period so we can accurately complete our follow-up reports. We may be able to recommend resources to help you overcome barriers that may affect your continued employment, including meeting with you and your employer to help iron out issues, or we may be able to refer you to additional employment opportunities.
This part is about injury and accident at the training assignment. If you have an injury or an accident during training, you must immediately inform your host agency supervisor and the Urban Seniors Jobs Program project director. All accidents are important to report. Even accidents that do not require medical treatment or attention must be reported. If your supervisor will report the accident and submit a written account of the accident to the USJP office using an accident report form, you are protected by workers' compensation, which covers injuries received at your training assignment. If you see unsafe or unhealthy conditions at your host agency, immediately tell your supervisor and the Urban Seniors Jobs Program project director. This is about support services. Support services are available to help you in overcoming barriers to employment. The program counselor will help you with job-related counseling and for other types of counseling and referrals to other agencies as needed. Please talk with your project director if you need help with things like entitlements, which is Social Security, food stamps, and Medicaid. If you need help with health care, or with housing, or with legal services, financial problems, or social activities. And this is limitation on activities. There are limits on the activities that USJP participants cannot do, such as you cannot open or close a host agency, and you cannot perform training activities that are religious in nature. Now this is about the classroom and educational training policy. Participants may have classroom or instructor-led, or training goals developed as part of their IEP. These may include certification in a computer program or getting a GED, for example. Other training may be required that is self-taught or self-paced through a computer lab or through group meetings. In all cases, the training must be documented in the IEP. The USJP staff will instruct you on how to complete your timesheet if you are enrolled into any educational or class training program. The training may be combined with your community service training at a host agency, or it may replace your training at your host agency for a short period of time. Either way, the maximum amount of training that you will be paid for is 20 hours per week.
When you first walk into your host agency, you're a newbie. They will teach you about the agency itself in a host agency orientation. The host agency supervisor will provide an orientation for all participants when they first come in for training. The first orientation will include, but is not limited to, information on the agency background and purpose, the services it provides to the community, the agency's policies and procedures, the locations and use of extinguishers and alarms, the posted designated routes of escape in the event of a fire. Trust me, you want to know those. A review of all other severe weather and disaster action plans. This is an important orientation. It might not be bad to take notes. Job search is one of the main activities of the USJP program. You'll want to keep a record of what you do because you may need to refer to it. It's also required for evidence that you're meeting your goals. You're required to complete a job search log for all job search activities while enrolled in USJP. You may be assigned to complete a certain number of employer contacts each pay period, requiring the completion of a job search log. You may be assigned to do your training assignment and job search activity, requiring the completion of a separate timesheet for job search hours and a job search log. You may be assigned a total job search activity, again, requiring the completion of a timesheet for job search and a job search log. The leave of absence policy is one you really need to understand. It's a little bit of a cushion if you need it in an emergency, and at the same time, if you really need it, you really need to know how it works. So here we go. The leave of absence policy is as follows. You may take a leave of absence from your training site with the approval of the USJP office. Adequate notice must be given to your training site supervisor. When requesting a leave from your training site, you must complete an application for leave form. Unpaid leave or leave without pay may be granted for up to 30 days. If you are unable to return to the training assignment within 30 days, you will be exited from the USJP. If you were exited from the USJP program for a leave of absence, can you come back? Yes, you may be able to come back. When you are able to return, you will be considered for re-enrollment. While we can consider you for re-enrollment, your re-enrollment is not guaranteed. If this leave of absence was the result of a health-related problem, you need to present a return to work release. This notice is to be signed by a physician, and it must state the specific date you're allowed to return to the USJP program. Another form of leave time is jury duty. Your payment for jury duty is based on the policies of the Urban League. There's also inclement weather and disaster clothings. No matter where we live in the United States, there is some kind of a weather or disaster, something that can happen sometime that will require our workplace to close. When the host training agency is closed due to bad weather, power failure, or other unseen reasons, you will not be paid for these days. However, you can make up the time in the same pay period. Other forms of leave time include alternative assignment. If your host agency must close for an extended time, you can make a request to the project director for a change in your host agency assignment. Your training can then continue toward your goals. When do you need a physician's return to work training notice? A physician's return to work training notice may be required when you're absent due to an injury resulting in an emergency room visit or hospitalization, even if it occurs over a weekend. In addition, a return to work training notice may be required for multiple days of absence due to illness. Computer and internet use is a touchy subject. In your assignment at the host agency, you might have a position where you'll be using the computers and internet on a daily basis, or you might only just have access to them. Either way, computers should be used for training purposes only, including the research and your training assignments. Computers are not to be used for your personal use or for your entertainment. Training site policies must be followed. When using computers and internet at your training site, remember, internet access at your training site is for business and training purposes only. Personal or entertainment use of the internet may result in disciplinary action, including immediate exit from USJP. You should keep in mind that computer resources are owned by the training site and they can be searched at any time. If you notice anything questionable when using the computer or internet, you must report it immediately to your supervisor. Confidentiality is a serious subject with both USJP and the host agencies. Confidentiality of training site information, procedures, staff, and clients is required. In some cases, the clients and the host agency are bound by federal law, state laws, for privacy reasons. You cannot violate their policies without putting clients or the agency at risk. The confidentiality policies of each training site will be explained and followed. The confidentiality policies of the training site will be explained and followed. However, sound judgment is also required. You may be required to sign a confidentiality statement during orientation at the training site. A breach in confidentiality is grounds for exit from the USJP program. Let's talk about overtime. Overtime is not permitted under USJP regulations. Training sites are not permitted to provide any form of additional compensation to USJP participants. Such compensation is considered unsubsidized employment, which requires the exit of the participant. You should work the hours that your IEP says you should work, and you will be paid the wage your IEP says you will be paid. There will be no more than that because you are not authorized to work more hours. USJP participants may not volunteer at their training sites doing the same duties as appear on the host agency training assignment form. When someone starts a new position with paid time off, vacation, sick days, they want to know when they get theirs. There is no paid vacation, paid time off, or paid sick leave for USJP participants. If you want a cup of coffee with a side of beach, it will be at your expense and there will be no hours of paid time to take it. You may make up missed hours or days during the same 2-week period without loss of hours or compensation. But all your absences must be approved by the USJP project director and the host agency site supervisor as soon as possible. Participant records always contain a good deal of personal and very private information about the participant to whom they pertain. Your records will be kept confidential in a safe place in the Urban League office. No one will ever take them home to work on them. You have the right to look at your file at a time that is good for you and the program staff. You can also add information to the file if you wish. Just a quick item about transportation. You are responsible for the commuting costs to and from your training assignment, whether you go by bus, by car, motorbike, skateboard, or your own 2 feet. The cost of fuel, maintenance, insurance, and any other related costs there might be, those are all yours to bear. You just are expected to go to your host agency so that you can get the training you need to get a better job to afford better transportation.
Political activities. You are free to participate in political activities on your own time, of course. However, the following applies. You may not participate in political activities during any of your community service training activities or hours. As well, you may not represent yourself as a spokesperson for the Urban League or Urban Seniors Jobs Program as part of any political activity at any time. In addition, some of our host agencies are federal or state or local government agencies and may have additional restrictions about political activities on their properties. Nepotism prohibited at host agencies. You will not be assigned to a host agency where any member of your family works in a paid or unpaid position. Family member means a wife, a husband, a son, a daughter, a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, an aunt, an uncle, a niece or a nephew, a stepchild, a step-parent, grandchild, or any in-laws of any kind. Volunteering. You may not volunteer at the assigned host agency and perform tasks that are the same as or similar to your tasks that are stated in your training description.
Discrimination is prohibited at host agencies. Training site discrimination that is based on race or creed or color, your sex, your age, your disability, if any, your national origin, your religion, any political affiliation that you may have, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation, if you possibly have HIV infection or an AIDS-related complex, or if indeed you have actual AIDS, as governed by the applicable state and federal laws, is prohibited. Additionally, any training site sexual harassment is absolutely prohibited, and you must report discrimination or harassment to the USJP project director immediately. This is discrimination is prohibited continued. It is also the policy of Urban Seniors Jobs Program that no person be excluded from participation in this program because of your race, your creed, your color, your sex, your age, any disabilities, your national origin, your religion, political affiliations, ethnicity, sexual orientation, HIV infection, AIDS-related complex, or actual AIDS is absolutely prohibited. Direct fundraising and revenue producing. Participants may not be involved in direct fundraising or revenue producing activities for the host agency. Trainees may not handle receipts from the sale of items for fundraisers, utility bills, or solicit funds in the name of the host agency.
A drug-free work training site policy. The unlawful manufacture, distribution, dispensing, possession of, or use of a controlled substance is prohibited at the Urban League offices and while on assignment at any other host agency. This policy is part of the Urban League's personnel practices. Eating policies for host agencies. The policies of your host agency site must be followed. In general, do not eat or drink in computer labs or around expensive equipment, as you could be asked to replace it if you ruin it. If you have any doubts, ask your supervisor at your host agency. The duration of program participation. The length of time you may be in training with the Urban Seniors Jobs Program depends upon your goals as represented in your IEP. If you're not engaged in meeting the goals of your IEP or with job search activities, there is cause for you to be exited from the program. In addition, the federal guidelines limit the duration of participation to an average of 27 months, which is a year and 3 months, for an individual enrollment and a maximum of 48 months or 4 years total for a lifetime. Employment and unemployment compensation. You are not an employee of the Urban Seniors Jobs Program or the training site agency. This handbook, associated with procedures, forms, etc., does not constitute a work contract or a guarantee to obtain work. The Urban Seniors Jobs participant who exit the program are not entitled to employment compensation because you are not employees, you are trainees. Personal appearance. A big part of personal appearance is how you're dressed. It's important for you to adhere to all of the host agency site dress codes and policies and procedures. You are advised to dress appropriately and exercise excellent hygiene. This means that you will need to take showers or baths every day. You're required to use deodorant. You must brush your teeth daily and to wear nice, neat clothing that is pressed and ready to go and is appropriate to the type of training you are doing. If need be, the Urban Seniors Job staff can recommend you or refer you to a program like Dress for Success or some type of similar agency that will be able to supply you with clothing that is appropriate for your job at little or no cost to you.
This is more disciplinary actions. You will receive an orientation from both the USJP staff and the host agency supervisor regarding your training assignment, after which you will sign the training assignment agreement, acknowledging your understanding and acceptance of the training assignment. You will not be asked to perform any duties that you can't do, or in that do not appear on your training assignment agreement or in your IEP. If you do not perform the duties that you are assigned to the best of your ability, you will be subject to disciplinary action, including a warning letter and/or possible exit from the program. And more disciplinary actions continued. If an offense is serious, you may immediately be asked not to return to the host agency by either the host agency supervisor or the USJP project director, and you may be exited from the program. The project director will investigate all questions or incidents involving disciplinary action. And this is the disciplinary termination process. I'm telling you that this disciplinary process for terminating a participant, the responsible Urban League staff member will review the case with the project director and establish the appropriate course of action. Urban League does reserve the right to move directly to termination for serious violations, such as violence or threats of violence or fraud. But normally the termination process will include the following steps. Most steps in this process are carried out by 2 Urban League staff members if possible. And this is the disciplinary termination process continued. Step 1, documented verbal warning. An Urban Senior staff member will verbally warn you as the participant, and they will complete a warning report and put a copy of it in your file. And this is disciplinary termination process continued. Step number 3, corrective action. Urban Seniors Jobs Program staff member will complete a corrective action. This will be discussed with the management team and delivered to you in person. This may also be your final warning. The corrective action will be for a period no longer than 90 days, and the Urban Seniors staff member will provide a written progress evaluation with a copy sent directly to you, the participant. And this is disciplinary termination process continued. Step number 3, corrective action. Urban Seniors Jobs Program staff member will complete a corrective action. This will be discussed with the management team and delivered to you in person. This may also be your final warning. The corrective action will be for a period no longer than 90 days, and the Urban Seniors staff member will provide a written progress evaluation with a copy sent directly to you, the participant. And this is disciplinary termination process continued. Step number 4, termination. An Urban League staff member will write a letter to you informing you of the reason or reasons for termination and the effective date, which must be a minimum of 30 days after the issuance of the letter. This letter will specifically reference the infraction and include your right of appeal in accordance with the Urban League's grievance policy and procedure.
This is a serious section about complaint and grievance policy and procedures. The principles and procedures set forth in this grievance section shall govern the treatment and handling of all grievances or complaints in connection with the National Urban League Urban Seniors Jobs Program, USJP, conducted by the Pinellas County Urban League. These procedures cover complaints alleging non-criminal violations of the requirements of the Urban Seniors Jobs Program, and comply with the National Urban League programs and activities. You will see that at every point in this set of policies and procedures, fairness on all sides is built in. At all levels of the grievance or complaint process, participants and complainants have the right to be represented at their own expense by a person or persons of their own choosing. Grievances or complaints must be filed within 90 days of the alleged violation. All grievances or complaints, amendments, and withdrawals must be in writing. All persons filing grievances or complaints shall be free from restraint, coercion, reprisal, or discrimination. Program participants will use the following procedures when filing a complaint. For informal complaints, the appropriate staff shall first attempt to resolve the problem informally, that is, a two-way meeting with the director and the participant or complainant. The complaint does not have to be in writing at this stage of the process. This is the friendliest and easiest way to resolve difficulties. A formal complaint may be filed if the informal process does not resolve the problem. Applicable procedures must be used. All formal complaints shall be signed by the participant complainant or his or her representative. They must contain the participant or complainant's name, address, or other means of contacting the complainant participant. They must identify the respondent, that is the person who's on the other side of the problem. Be a clear and concise statement of the facts and dates describing the alleged violation or violations. In making your formal complaint, these statements must accurately reflect the content of the grievance or complaint as submitted by the participant complainant to the local urban league. It would not be good form to make a complaint about one thing in one day and then be complaining about something else the next. Follow one complaint to its resolution. In processing complaints and grievances, the following steps shall be taken. Step 1. The participant or complainant shall present the written request to the project director. The director will review the complaint and provide a written summary explaining the outcome of the complaint to the participant or complainant within 10 business days of receipt of the complaint. A little note. When the director receives the complaint, the countdown of 10 business days begins. By the end of that 10 business days, the complainant or participant should have received the explanation and the decision. Step 2. If the grievance or complaint is not resolved to the satisfaction of the participant or complainant, he or she can submit a written appeal to the decision to the President or CEO of Pinellas County Urban League within 10 business days of receipt of the written summary requesting an appeal to the decision. The President CEO will review the participant or complainant's written appeal request and will provide a written decision that will agree with the project director's written summary or provide a written decision that will agree with the participant or complainant. A copy of the written decision will be given to the participant within 15 business days of receipt of the written appeal. Step 3. If the participant complainant does not receive a decision at the local level within 60 days of filing or receives an adverse decision, he or she has the right to file an appeal with National Urban League. Submit a written notice of appeal to the Director, Urban Seniors Jobs Program at National Urban League, 80 Pine Street, New York, New York, 10005. Your formal appeal must be submitted within 10 business days of receipt of the written appeal decision from the Pinellas County Urban League. The decision of the USJP Senior Director is final except for matters alleging discrimination, criminal fraud, or misuse of federal funds. When there is an issue of a complaint or a grievance that you'd like to have reviewed by senior staff, all requests for review must be submitted by the participant or complainant to the local urban league. Those requests must include the full name, telephone number, and mailing address of the participant or complainant. There should be a clear and concise statement of facts and dates describing the alleged violations. These statements must accurately reflect the content of the grievance or complaint as submitted by the participant or complainant to the local urban league. Your request for review and appeal must contain a statement of the basis of this request. The basis is whatever rule, regulation, policy, law you consider is being violated. If you're filing the grievance or complaint against individuals, whether staff or other participants, complainants should indicate how those individuals did not comply with USJP policies or regulations. You should include copies of relevant documents, such as the complaint that was filed at the local urban league, if you filed one there. And additionally, you should include the remedy that you're seeking.
In conclusion, we hope your experience with the Urban Seniors Jobs Program will be a great one, and that you have learned the skills needed to secure employment and occupation of your choice in the future. And we truly wish you all good luck.